What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and today we're putting the final nail in the Atari VCS coffin. This project, ever since it was first revealed, I've been extremely skeptical of, because it seems like, on the surface, it's obviously something very, very amiss. It doesn't seem like they have any idea what they're trying to launch, and yet they're happy taking $3 million of fan money. But this story just keeps getting bigger and way more strange. But what's happened this week is finally the last straw. I'm willing to say that I believe that this is probably fraud. Outright, I don't think they have any clue what they're doing in the slightest. So there's a tech website called The Register, and I've actually been reading them over the course of this last week because they are very, very educated. Basically, each one of their writers are people who have a ton of experience in the tech industry. So because of it, they end up getting to interview a lot of the biggest and brightest names within the business, which means that the people who conduct these interviews ask some of the most brilliant questions, trying to really get to the bottom of what your game is, what your product is, or what your console is supposed to be, because they are a whole company that's just excited to talk about stuff the same way we are. But here's the thing. A writer managed to have a sit-down talk, a half hour, with somebody named Michael Arzt, who calls himself one of the main guys over at Atari. His exact job is called the Chief Operations Officer at Atari Connect. That's a pretty big name, right? It's somebody who's clearly looking over and kind of keeping an eye on everything going on at the company. He himself, on his LinkedIn profile, describes himself as the person whose job is to oversee new developments. He is the guy who is supposed to know everything about everything going on with the Atari VCS. But he could not answer even the most basic of questions about it. He couldn't talk about what the USB ports would do, how much power it was going to have, what chips it would use. Literally nothing about it. And so the interviewer started to get, well, a little bit aware that something was wrong. Because let's face it, this is stuff that should be very, very obvious. If you do any job, well, you know everything about it. I consider myself, really, if we're just doing an analogy, think of me as the chief operating officer of this YouTube channel. You can ask me any question about this channel. I can literally tell you what software I use to edit. I can tell you what brand of microphone I'm using right here and how I'm setting it up. I can tell you what this boom mic is. I can tell you what the wiring is, where I ordered it, how much that stuff cost. I can tell you what my capture card is, what this game is, how I sent the emails to get this. I can tell you what my next 15 things are, deadlines. Every single part of my YouTube channel, including stuff like search engine optimization, keywords, thumbnails, Photoshop, all of that stuff I can tell you and explain to you in the most nitty-gritty details because I live it. I breathe it. I am the chief operating officer. I know every part of this YouTube channel better than anybody else on the planet. So if you're supposed to be the chief operating officer of the Atari VCS, I'm going to basically expect to some degree you can understand basic concepts like power units or release dates. This is something that the interviewer really nailed him down on the most, which is the fact that why did they delay it? Originally this was supposed to be coming out the middle of next year, or the middle of last year, and then late last year. They really kept flip-flopping as to when it was going to come out, but literally the day before it was originally going to be launching its crowdfunding campaign last winter, they delayed it. The last day. Now, this is something the interviewer really nailed him on because that's probably the most, well, very clearly corrupt part of this. And he says, look man, I've been interviewing people in the tech industry for a long time, and you never see that in successful projects. If you are ready to make a console, you've probably already got a prototype, you've got some ideas, you are ready and willing to throw this out. So the fact that they tried to delay their own giant multi-million-dollar crowdfunding project at the last millisecond shows that this is a dumpster fire. Let me tell you about something that one of the most interesting stories I've ever heard about is there was a guy once who got mailed a Xbox One about a year before it was even announced. He ordered a laptop from Microsoft and they accidentally sent him a prototype console. It worked, everything. And what's funny is that he went and told Microsoft, like, what is this? And they paid him a bunch of money money not to talk about it, and I think they even gave him a new like $5,000 laptop. But here's the thing, he ended up posting photos of this really bizarre prototype console when the console was officially shown later on. So what's the difference and why am I bringing that up? Because it's very aware that they were ready to go. Microsoft had spent tons of time researching and developing this system. So by the time they actually were even ready to murmur about it, they were already on the street ready to drive. They wanted to get into that race. So the fact that Atari can't even tell you anything about what the VCS supposedly could be is such a blatantly obvious sign that this thing is just most likely a scam. You know where they did this interview? They did it at GDC, the Game Developers Conference. Everybody else there was there with prototypes, projects, things that are supposed to get you excited. This guy, Michael Arzt, brought a piece of plastic, a literal empty shell that was supposed to be filled with dreams. What is the point of having something like that? That is absolutely useless. It does nothing. It helps nobody. It hypes nobody. So here's what really frustrates me the most is now, after this reporter over at the Register did this absolutely incredible reporting, he got called specifically a liar by Atari. He literally just reported the honest truth about the fact that something about this is very clearly fishy. Somebody decided to bring this incredibly well done article to the attention of the Atari VCS. They went to the page and basically posted it saying, "What is this? It kind of raises some red flags for me." And the people who run that page said that it was flat out false, fake news, completely fabricated. But here's the thing. The person who had actually done that interview recorded it. There are full audio clips of everything I've brought up today. Every single part of this is completely provable, and you can hear that, if anything, Michael Arzt doesn't know what's going on. Even though he's the chief operating officer, he makes some very bold and very wild claims. At one point, he says that the fact that they had to delay this project so suddenly multiple times is actually a good sign and not a bad sign. He actually says that the issue here is, yeah, you know, it's sort of like NASA. This is a real thing he said. He said, it's sort of like NASA. I mean, you're getting ready for launch, you put the rocket on the pad, and everything's getting ready to go, you're flipping all the switches, and you realize that there's a problem. You just basically have to delay it until you can fix it. But here's the thing, Atari VCS. You guys haven't built the rocket yet. You're trying to get millions of dollars to start making the designs for a rocket. That way you can get up to the launch pad and then flip those switches. You don't even have the switches built. And at this point, I'm pretty sure you guys don't even know what a launch pad looks like. Everything about this project continues to blow my mind because I don't know why anybody supports it. If you are an Atari fanboy, I have no disrespect towards you. I fully expect the fact that you guys are literally educated gentlemen who want to support a project that you're passionate about. You grew up with the Atari, and this is supposed to be more of that. I believe that you believe in what you're trying to support. I'm trying to warn you because I truly believe that you are giving your money to people who are going to dump it down a giant hole in the ground. There is so much out there that you could spend your money on that is a bigger and better project. There are even crowdfunded games that are more obviously well thought out than what this could theoretically become. Whether you're backing a good RPG, a good board game, or something that's just completely something experimental and off the wall, all of that is probably a better use of crowdfunded dollars than whatever the Atari VCS is going to be. But you know what? I will say, if this somehow comes out, I'll admit that I'm wrong. Because theoretically it might happen, I just don't believe it. I think that any crowdfunded project and anything like this needs honesty and a forward face, an openness of information. After I made my last Atari video, the president of Intellivision actually called me on the phone and we had a long conversation about what his project will theoretically be. And he told me straight up, it's not going to use crowdfunding, it's not going to be trying to aim to be whatever the Atari VCS is. He just said, I want to make a good game to make anybody, whether it be an old lady or a young kid, happy. And I kind of trust somebody like that. Somebody who's willing to come out and talk to YouTubers, talk to media, and listen to what we want in their product. Atari VCS doesn't give two licks about what the heck they're doing as long as they get that sweet, sweet paycheck. But what do you think about this? Let me know your comments down below, and can you really even believe the fact that these people who continue to lie and continue to be caught are still the ones throwing out the most accusations? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Me personally, I'm just gonna keep reporting on this as soon as news comes out, because at this point it's becoming the dumpster fire of this century. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. God. Alright. I'm going to get back to racing around in the crew too, because after all this, I just need to get in some good races and forget that all this annoyance is out there. Oh, hey. I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad, and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.